A jury just awarded $6 million to a 20-year-old woman who says she became addicted to Instagram and YouTube as a child. Let that sit just for a moment. Like, really, just let it marinate just for a little bit longer. All right. Because that means something changed. That means something just changed. The algorithm isn't being debated anymore. It's costing money. When something starts costing money, the conversation changes. I'm your host, The Trill Pill, and this is The Prescription. Let's start the show. Yeah. The fuck going on, man? It's Trill Pill. Yours truly. We back with another episode of The Prescription. I'm your host, The Trill Pill. Right now on your screen, on your phone, on your tablet, on your goddamn T-Mobile Sidekick, whatever you got, Android, iPhone, whatever you got. All right. Neuralink, whatever you got, Starlink, whatever you got. Prime Code, whatever you got. Take your phone, get a QR reader. That bottom right-hand corner is the QR code that leads you right to the Substack Trill Pill Unlimited. That's when you get the raw and unfiltered thoughts, right? For all my niggas who like to read and comprehend and, give feedback. If you want something a little bit more, I don't have a word for it right now, but if you like reading articles, if you like that old school style blog post, like Tumblr type style of reading, shout out to Substack and shout out to Black Stack. It's a lot of great Black content creators over there at Substack. If you want something with more substance, come holler at me on Substack. Shout out to the Black Stack community as well. Let me pull up this thumbnail right quick so we can get straight to the business. Also, shout out to everybody out there who's liked, shared, subscribed. We gained 4 more subscribers from Monday. We at 337 now. You know what I'm saying? We at 337 now. Now, we didn't hear about it. That makes probably 160 some odd subs over the last 3 weeks, which is excellent. It's great. Thank you for subbing. Hope you guys keep watching. If this is your first time here, I want to tell you that you will never hear nothing like this ever again. I am one of one. I am the creator. This is my creation. This is how I roll. It's how I've been rolling. Check my resume. We know flaw. We do the work. We do the research. We do what the mother niggas can't do, right? And what some won't do. All right. We're not coming here with a whole lot of fluff and all that. We come in here giving you the stone cold facts about what is going on and the topics that I'm covering. All right. So yesterday, the social media case came to an end. $6 million was awarded to 20-year-old woman by the initials KGM. That's how we know her by as KGM. Now, for years, we've been told the same story about social media. If you're stuck scrolling, that's your fault. Weak discipline, bad habits. Put the phone down. All right. Now, a part of that is very much true, but a bigger part of that is a simple narrative because it's clean blame. But now the narrative is being challenged in a courtroom in a landmark case. Mark Zuckerberg took the stand as courts examined whether platforms like Instagram and YouTube, still a defendant alongside Meta, were designed in ways that contribute to compulsive use and youth harm. Now, before this whole trial happened, TikTok and Snapchat ducked their taco. They ducked their tail. They said, we don't want the smoke. They settled earlier in related litigation. but you but YouTube and Instagram remain. And this case isn't being brought by one voice. These are families. These are young users who are aware. These are school systems that are also very aware. And they're all arguing the same thing. This isn't just about content. It's about the design, the architecture of it, the infinite scroll, the autoplay, engagement systems, the recommendation engines. That's not moderation. That's architecture. And if attention is the battlefield, then yesterday that battlefield showed up in the court. Not the user on trial, not the content on trial. The design logic is on trial. Let's read the board. All right, let's get into it. Now, before I get into all this, let me get a little background. Tune. What you see on your screen is very important, right? Very cut and dry. To your left, Adam Moziri, Threads, Instagram CEO, Mark Zuckerberg, Meta, Facebook CEO, and Chris Post, good also in the mix over there on the YouTube side, the operation side, things of that nature. Right? Now, under oath, Zuckerberg denied that Instagram was intentionally addictive. And he framed usage as usefulness. Let me fix my microphone. Right. You're right. You know what I'm talking about? He framed usage as usefulness. People use it because it provides value. And in my opinion, that's the defensive highlight. Because no, before I go there, I think I'm away from at the but that is a defensive highlight. But internal documents surface referencing goals tied to increasing time spent. I'm talking about time allotted, the time that everything has a metric. However long you spend on the phone, as a metric tool. Algorithms on these apps as a metric tool, and they get that data. But eternal documents surface, referencing goals tied to increasing time spent. He described them as checks and not direct attention. Because in any system, what you measure becomes what you now. Adam Mosseri has publicly argued that social media is clinically addictive. He keeps during his testimony, he kept liability away from medical classification. Now, some of his lowlights that I identified in his testimony was he narrowed the definition of harm and he avoided broader compulsion patterns. Right now, this other guy to the right, Christos Goodrow, he stayed focused on parental control, safety tools. One of his highlights in his testimony was he acknowledged the responsibilities, right? One of the lowlights in his testimony that I seen was safety exists on top of engagement-driven systems. You understand? And that's totally false. That's the whole point why we are here, because of the safety. Now, zoom out from this, right? You know, and what we have from these three guys on the screen right now is the reliance on safety layers, the emphasis on usefulness, the denial of intentional addiction, and the distance from engagement maximization or optimization. But the mechanics remain unchanged. And that contradiction is the story. Now, every system, it optimizes for something, right? We're talking about design implications. When you design something, you're intending for that something, you know, to be optimized. It's the whole reason why you're creating the shit in the first fucking place, right? If the metric, excuse me, but if the metric is 1, time spent, 2, engagement, 3, retention, then the design moves toward removing stopping cues, remove friction, increase unpredictability, personalize the triggers, shorten the reward cycles, not because of malice, because of incentives. That's why on YouTube, it went from 1,000 subs to 500 subs. We're going to shorten your cycle to get monetized because we see something profitable here, you know. Now, none of this shit is new. All right. I told you guys about, let me bring these slides up right now. I'm trying to figure out which one was it. But I told you guys about the other bellwether cases, landmark cases, just like this one. This goes right in that category. Let me bring those up real quick so I can show you. Let me go back to my presentation notes. I want to say those were here we go. Look at that. Shout out to labeling shit, right? You know what I'm saying? Hey man, look, we organize over here to a certain extent. Let me take these guys down because it's blocking it. Okay, so I told you guys about the parallels, the historical parallels. So this isn't new, what we're seeing. All right. The first one was the Ford Pinto, the foreseeable harm calculated away. In the 1970s, the Ford Motor Company sold a Pinto with the fuel tank design that made certain rear-end collisions unusually lethal. Internal documents showed Ford knew the risks and calculated it would be cheaper to pay lawsuits than redesign the tank. The legal breakthrough wasn't cars are dangerous. It was you knew this specific design increased harm and you accepted it. Right? Let's go to the second one. Big tobacco. All right. The addiction denied, documented internally. Tobacco companies publicly denied nicotine addiction while internally studying and enhancing it. So put the motherfucking Camel Crushers down. You understand? Put the Newports down, baby. You know what I'm saying? Of course, didn't act because smoking was unhealthy. They acted because addiction was understood eternally. Public messaging minimized the risk. Product design amplified dependency, not universal harm, but foreseeable harm combined with internal knowledge. And the last example that I had from this slide, so beautifully put together. Purdue Pharma, the growth before the guardrails. Now, marketed Oxycontin as low risk while aggressively expanding prescriptions. The lawsuits weren't about painkillers existing. They were about risk, minimalization. Oh, I killed that shit. I killed that shit. Come on now. Shout out to the one out there trying to, All right. Risk minimalization, market expansion, internal awareness of dependency. You understand? The product wasn't illegal, but the strategy became the liability. All right. So this bellwether case will go right up under them. And if we have any other cases like that, they'll show up as well. All right. So let me get back to it. So as you can see, the pattern there between the Ford Pinto and the big pharma and big tobacco, the innovation, the scale, the harm signals. All right. The innovation, scale, harm signals, all the denial going on. This shit ain't hurting nobody. Cars blowing up, niggas losing lungs. You know what I'm saying? People geeked up, doped up all the time. Then the litigation and the regulation and the redesign. And that's where we're at right now. It is the part where we're at right now is the litigation, and it's approaching regulation before it gets to the redesign. Now, that's the that's the system. All right. Now, let's take a look at the people inside it. All right. Get a little swig of this water. You know what I'm talking about? A lot of reading going on, a lot of izations going on around this motherfucker, ain't it? I know. Stay with me now. Hold on. Don't leave. No, don't run. Come here. All right. So at the center of this case is that 20-year-old woman going under KGM. She testified that she began using these platforms as a child and developed compulsive usage patterns tied to depression and suicidal ideation. And that's not theory, that's experience that's entering as evidence. Now, when you layer in the whistleblower insight, the internal research has suggested the awareness of youth impact, the optimization around retention, the emotional amplification patterns, not proof of intent, but the evidence of awareness. So the question becomes, what did the system know about its effects. Like I just showed you guys with the Ford Pinto, Big Tobacco, Purdue Pharma, foreseeable risk. You guys knew the risk. You saw the risk. And you calculated it the way you found it'd be cheaper to pay out than to go back and redesign shit. You understand? The Ford Pinto, they just moved the gas tank. They knew the gas tank could possibly be dangerous if somebody got rear-ended. They didn't give a fuck. They said, oh, shit, the chances of somebody get rear-ended versus the chances of what? They just, hey, it'll be cheaper for us to pay them out when somebody does die. You know, that's how they think. It'd be cheaper for us to go ahead and just, when they die, we shell out some money, go on from there. It's fucked up. Now, the therapist layer of that, because these are all people who hit the stand, right? The KGM, the whistleblowers, and the therapists. So the therapist layer, mental health professionals described compulsive checking, sleep disruption, anxiety from feedback loops, identity tied to validation, difficulty disengaging. This doesn't prove causation, but it shows patterns. Now, once you compare, or better yet, this is when you put your thinking caps on, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, G's and gents. You understand me? This is when you put your thinking cap on. Everybody put your hands in the air. All right? Tilt your head forward, put your hands up over your head, and bring it down. Thank you. That's what we're doing. Thinking cap time, goddammit. Now, compare, look up and just imagine a Venn diagram or a flow chart or a T-chart even. On one side, you have the executives. And on the other side, you have therapists. The executives say it's not addictive, it's a user choice, and the safety already exists. On the therapist side, compulsion, behavioral loops, and emotional impact. So the tension becomes definition versus experience. And now everything converges. This is why this changes everything. And I've already went over this once, in a past episode, but I'll go over it again because I fuck with you. I really fuck with you like that. So I go over it half many times I would need to. Now everything converges. The executives, the documents, the whistleblowers, the plaintiff, a therapist. Now, before, platforms are tools. Now, platforms may be behavior shaping systems. You did? Any system that tracks behavior, predicts engagement, and optimizes retention becomes subject to scrutiny. So where does all this shit go, Trippy? We done read me all this shit. You done stuttered and stammered through all this shit. What the fuck does this shit mean? Slowly, more friction, design audits, youth protections, transparency, legal awareness, and design. Not because companies want to, but because they have to. Oh, it's time to put belt to ass in that courtroom. From here on out, the design architecture, the logic will be held responsible for by the creators. And in my opinion, if you're getting paid billions on billions on billions of dollars, that shouldn't be a fucking problem. And don't get it twisted. The $6 million, all that, that's a drop in the bucket for these guys. These guys probably spent $6 million on Zuzus and Wham Whams and snacks and, whatever lavish, trips and gifts. It ain't shit to them. But it is to us. Because now it's been proven that y'all are designing these platforms and y'all know the risk and y'all not giving a fuck. You're optimizing it now. Yeah, it might have been just a cool platform in the beginning, a tool to network and do this and do that, but now you're shaping minds. You running ads like everybody else is running ads. Every time niggas get some money, you changing the goddamn guidelines of how to get some money. You changing the way the game is played. You done got billions and billions of dollars now, and now you're crying about, well, they ain't really crying about it, but they know what this shit means way beyond this $6 million. What's next? My opinion, gaming is next. Anybody who designs anything that, one, tracks behavior, two, predicts engagement, three, optimizes retention, becomes subject to what, boys and girls? Scrutiny. Yeah. So now don't be afraid to question. Don't be in fear to question these platforms, because they need to be held responsible. They have to be held responsible. They should be held responsible. They shouldn't have no fucking problem with it. You're making billions of dollars. All this, the safety's already in there. No, it's not. That should have been your first. Hey, when we create this, we need to make sure that the children are protected. Top tier. It seems to me, for some reason, we are losing track about the babies. The babies need to be protected at all times, as well as the adults, but the babies, once these adults become adults, the motherfuckers start doing all type of shit. But the babies, the ones whose skull is still soft in the middle, need to be protected. They have to be. That is your task. We don't want to hear about it. Oh, it's too hard. How can we figure it the fuck out? You're making billions of dollars. If not, give some of us the money and we'll figure it out. Give me $1 billion. I'll figure it out. Give me $1 billion. I'll figure it out. Hit the streets. Ask questions. Talk to parents. Get them in. Stop being a bitch. Being arrogant. That's what I see from these guys on the screen, and a lot of those other guys too. They're so arrogant. That TikTok and Snapchat son of a bitch, they'll get theirs. They'll get theirs. That's why they ducked their taco. They knew their ass was grass. Watching these guys walk in and all smug, and even the whole thing with Mark Zuckerberg and his little entourage and walking in with these metal glasses. Judge tore their ass up. Judge put belt to ass. The audacity of you motherfuckers walking in with these metal glasses trying to record some shit. Especially during times like this. Shouldn't you know better? Aren't you aware? Do you care? They don't give a fuck. But I bet they do now. I bet they have to now. I don't give a fuck how much they act like they don't. They're going to learn today. Now they got to go back and comb through these systems and fix this shit, adjust this shit. Some things we'll see, a lot of things we won't. But now that they know that their ass is up under the microscopic glass, hey, like I said before, slowly, more friction, design audits, youth protection, transparency, legal awareness, and design. Not because they want to. They don't want to do none of this shit. But they have to. And every platform that's being created after them has to. Every platform that's being created right now, that's out right now, has to. They have to. You have to now. You can't just create a platform and say, oh, fuck it. No. No. You don't get the opportunity to do that shit no more. All right. The system called it engagement. Users experienced it as compulsion. Now the courts are deciding what it is. Code used to be invisible. Now it's evidence. So, in closing, $6 million doesn't hurt $1 billion company at all. But that's not the point. This is about a new question entering the system. If design shapes behavior, can design be held responsible? Because once that question is asked, it doesn't leave. You understand? If attention is the battlefield, this wasn't a victory. It was the first confirmed hit. This is the prescription. Much love. I'm gone.